Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show where the theories go round and round, all through the town. So as the parent of a child born in a post-YouTube world, there has been no escape from Cocomelon. Even if their content isn't exactly to your taste.
No, I don't like it. Ew.
Something involving this entertainment behemoth has likely crossed your feed before. Believe it or not, but this right here
Help me, Mommy. Owie, ow.
is the third most subscribed channel on YouTube right now. And who knows, it might very well be primed to take the #1 spot someday. In fact, the meteoric rise of Cocomelon sparked a bit of a feud with PewDiePie back in the day, when they were about to surpass him in subscribers. He actually made a diss track about Cocomelon when they were in a neck-and-neck race for subscribers, which then got removed from YouTube for cyberbullying and child safety. It's really funny, I'm not gonna lie. That said, if somehow you've managed to dodge this series, please tell me how. Please get it to leave me alone. Anyway, Cocomelon is a show, network, collection of nursery songs. Basically, it's like the infant version of MTV right here on YouTube.com, where the cast of animated characters sing nursery rhymes to children and promote good habits like eating vegetables and saying please and thank you.
Time to wear your shoes.
Yes, I want to wear my shoes.
Riveting, he said, obviously not riveted. Believe it or not, but Cocomelon's actually been around in one form or another since 2006, when a filmmaker named Jay Gian and his wife, a cartoonist, started making simple animated videos to educate their kids, teaching them stuff like their ABCs. They uploaded these videos onto their YouTube channel, which eventually evolved into ABC Kid TV, and they started focusing on 3D animations. The channel began shifting more towards nursery rhymes, and eventually new characters were introduced, like the creatively named Mommy and Daddy, along with their children Tom Tom, Yo-Yo, and JJ. The channel would eventually change its name to Cocomelon, complete with all the videos that we know and tolerate to this very day. Now, we here at Team Theorist are no strangers to the fact that these shows made for children can be strange. And if you look at them through the lens of facts and logic, you start to notice things that don't quite add up. So when I started seeing some theories floating around online that JJ, the youngest of the Cocomelon crew, was adopted, I got really excited. I mean, we've already proven that another YouTube nursery rhyme sensation, Baby Shark, was adopted, so could the same thing be happening here? Well, hold on tight, friends, because today, it's Morty time.
Leave your theories in the comments below. I'll pick my favorites in the next episode of Morty.
But before we do that, let's take Cocomelon's advice and
Save and save. Let's save our coins for a rainy day.
because when those rainy days come, you're gonna wanna buy our brand new winter line of Theorywear, the Northern Lights collection. First of all, you guys have to check out our new cozy hibernation sweater. This thing has a chunky knit design. It's heavyweight and has an oversized cozy fit. Basically, it's perfect for keeping warm while you're out and about, or looking suave and classy while hanging out with the family and friends. Actually wore one of these sweaters in a meeting recently, and Film Theory creative director Lee complimented me on it. He didn't even realize that it was something that we designed. And you know what? That is the mark of a really good piece of clothing. But of course, the sweater is only gonna be doing you so much good if your hands are freezing cold, which is why we also developed the Polar Embrace gloves. These things are perfect for any time you wanna go out this winter. Plan to go skiing or hiking at all? These babies are waterproof and insulated, keeping your fingers toasty no matter what outdoor activities you wanna get up to. And that includes watching your favorite movies, theories, and yes, even nursery rhyme YouTube videos on your phone, since the Polar Embrace gloves also have themselves a touchscreen finger. No need to take off your gloves every time you wanna change songs or find something new to watch. Finally, if you wanna complete the look, we also have ourselves the Northern Ember beanie to add a nice splash of color up top. I've never been much of a hat guy since they tend to cover up that hair swoosh I've tried to curate over the years, but this beanie will absolutely keep your ears warm if you have to get up early to commute to school or work. Listen, I think you guys can tell at this point that Theorywear, it ain't just merch anymore. It is genuine pieces of fashionable clothing that can actually be useful to you in your everyday life. Pieces that'll last years in your wardrobe. And you know what? You're gonna look darn good while you're wearing them too. Please, if you're interested, go check out our Northern Lights collection over at Theorywear.com. And stay warm this winter season. But enough shilling for one day, let's get back to that Morty. So the earliest version of this fan theory that I could find comes from, believe it or not, the Cocomelon fandom wiki, with this page being created on December 10th, 2020. And what's the evidence that they present here that JJ's adopted? 1, his hair is blonde, while the rest of the family's hair is much darker brown or red. 2, there is no number 2. Wait, really? That's it? That is the only real piece of evidence that they're hanging this fan theory on. I gotta be real with you guys, when I first saw this, it surprised me. This is barely a hypothesis, let alone a theory, but believe it or not, there is actually a bit more to stand on than you might first expect. Break out your textbooks, friends. We're jumping back into some high school biology and hereditary genetics. When it comes to physical characteristics like eye color, blood type, whatever, it all comes down to dominant and recessive genes. You've probably heard this like 1,000 times before, so we won't dwell on it too long. Basically, your parents each have 2 genes, and both parents pass down just one of those genes to their children. Some of these genes take priority over others, thus making them the dominant gene. So let's say your parents pass down a type A and a type O blood type gene. You'll end up with type A blood because it's the dominant gene there. But if both your parents pass down the recessive type O gene, even if both your parents have type A blood themselves, then you're gonna still end up with type O blood. You can actually map out all these potential outcomes and how likely they are with a helpful little diagram called a Punnett square, which again, we've talked about plenty in the past, let's not dwell. But all of that being said, that whole dominant recessive gene thing, it is one of those big lies that tends to get taught in schools because genetics, go figure, is a lot more complicated than the shorthand given to it in those textbooks. Case in point, hair color. Instead of being a simple case of the brunette gene is dominant over the blonde gene, there's way more going on in a system called incomplete dominance. Imagine you have a red flower and a white flower. In a typical Punnett square system, you might think that the red would be the dominant color, so if you breed those two together, you're gonna end up with another red flower. But then all of a sudden you get confused when the flower turns out to be pink. The long and short of what's happening here is that the dominant gene is being diluted by the recessive gene. This is what happens with hair color. See, the actual genes being passed on here control how much eumelanin and pheomelanin you have in your hair, and those determine what color your hair is. Melanin is the natural pigment that's found in organisms. Eumelanin is a darker pigment, and pheomelanin is a lighter pigment that often skews red. Typically, eumelanin overpowers pheomelanin, so if you have a lot of eumelanin, then you're gonna have black hair. If you have almost no eumelanin and more pheomelanin, then your hair is gonna be red. Blonde and brown hair then fall into the spectrum between those two colors. Thanks to incomplete dominance, your hair is likely gonna be a mix of the colors that your parents have, and this is exactly what we're seeing with Cocomelon. When you really look at each of the characters, they all have slightly different hair colors because they have different amounts of eumelanin. So boom, there you go. It's not only possible for JJ to be blonde, but it's possible for all 5 of these characters to end up with differently colored hair, period. And even if we discount all of this, it would still be possible for JJ to have blonde hair while the rest of the family doesn't. See, a child's hair can fall out quickly, it can grow back quickly, and most importantly for us, it can change color quickly. As a child matures, the amount of eumelanin in the hair tends to increase, darkening the color. In some extreme cases, it can even take a child with platinum blonde hair and turn it jet black within the span of a few months. Something similar actually happened with me. I started out as a blonde baby before ending up as a brunette by the time I was in 1st grade. Out of curiosity, I actually asked around the team if this had happened to any of them, and no fewer than 10 of us had the exact same story. And you don't have to take our words for it either. One study found that babies can have lighter hair for between 9 and 30 months, and after age 3, it becomes progressively darker until it settles into the final color around age 5. So even if it were impossible for JJ to be blonde genetically, which again, it isn't, if he were this young, there'd still be a good chance that he could be blonde while the rest of his family isn't. Therefore, there just isn't enough here to say that he's adopted. Theory busted. So is that it? Well, given how much runtime there's left in this video, you know the answer to that one, friends. As I was looking into this whole theory, I noticed something else about JJ, something that is far more concerning than just the kid potentially being adopted, and it all starts with his age. If we're going off the whole blonde hair that can darken with age thing that we just talked about, that means that JJ is younger than 5 years old, which visually checks out. I mean, he's a baby, but we can get more specific than that. So my first thought was, well, what do we see JJ doing in Cocomelon that could help us pinpoint his age? As children get older, they're able to do more and more. It's like they're leveling up, unlocking new abilities. And typically, children are able to unlock the same abilities at roughly the same time. Some of the first that might come to mind when determining a child's age might be whether they can walk or whether they can talk. Throughout the series, we see JJ walking on his own without the aid of his parents or siblings. Most children are able to start doing this between the ages of 10 and 18 months. This also lines up with how much we see JJ speaking, or singing, I guess in this case. As I'm sure you know, a baby's vocabulary, it ain't that great. A goo-goo here, a gaga there. An average 18-month-old should only be able to say roughly between 20 and 200 words. Your average 3-year-old can say up to 1,000 words. So how many words are we looking at JJ knowing? Well, despite the fact that JJ isn't singing all the parts